When it comes to the cars, there are two things I'm afraid of: wiring and tuning. Hey, this isn't ready yet. Because turboing a car with the components itself is not entirely complex. It's the electricals that gets a little out of control. And oftentimes, that's when projects get abandoned.
This is a 1991 Toyota Corolla with a 1.6 liter 4AFE engine with 3 pedals and a 5-speed. That just happens to be a wagon. We wanted to prove you could build a cheap project car in 2025, so we bought this car for $800, gathered together a bunch of cheap parts, we dressed it up with fresh paint on the car and on the wheels, headlights, grille. Then we moved to the engine, where we took a generic turbo kit and fitted it to this engine.
We said we'd only do one video on this car, and that was the intention. However, when we finished building this car last week, you may have noticed that it just didn't run great. It ran, but not great. And that's because it needs tuning. And if I'm gonna daily drive this car like I intend to, like an absolute idiot, we gotta tune this thing. To get this car to run, we had a bit of a barbaric idea. We used a boost switch that actuates an injector here in the intake to spray extra fuel, because when you turbo a car and you get into boost, you need additional fuel, otherwise the engine will blow up. Enter tuning. The thing I'm terrified of, but takes a lot of time and is super critical to making sure that your engine does not blow up when it's turboed.
So depending on your application and your budget, there are a lot of options. You could go with a piggyback. Sometimes you can do a chip. Standalone ECU is always an option, but that's super expensive. Which is how we landed on our very budget-friendly additional injector, but at the time of filming, we didn't have any control. Now we do. So we were very fortunate in that one of our Patreon members had exactly what I was looking for to control our fuel injector. So instead of an on-off switch, we now have something that will control the frequency of that injector, and we can dial it in to be richer, leaner, whatever it is that we need. On top of that, it's got some hardware that might come in handy. A piece that looks surprisingly similar to the one that we made.
It's actually identical, but better because it clamps the
fuel injector
in rather than a hose clamp holding it in.
Yeah.
In fact, we might even just tie into what we have here just to get it tuned first, and then maybe switch it back over, because the other thing that's really cool is there's a second one here that has 2 injectors, so it can hold 2 injectors to a fuel rail, which gives even more fuel, but I don't think we need that much fuel.
And this one doesn't really work because it won't hold our fuel injectors.
What's wrong with these injectors, Tony?
This is a 1000 cc injector. This is a 320 cc injector. So I don't think we need 2000 cc's of fuel, probably closer to this 320.
I think it's 370.
I think it's 320.
What does it say on it?
Oh, you're right, it's 370.
Yeah,
Been a long time since I ordered it.
Yeah, and the injector we currently have in the car, which is a 370, we bought a set of 370s to put in this car with the intention of tuning them in the car before we realized it's not a MAF car.
Yeah, you try and shortcut and be like, okay, I'm just gonna get this, this, and this without enough research.
Yeah.
And then you end up with some parts laying on your bench that you can't use. Fortunately, we can use them. The question is going to be whether we want 1 or 2. Either way, they're not going to fit into that piece.
Yeah, but the one we currently have running right now is like an on-off switch, and when it's full bore, it's actually way too much fuel, so I don't think we need more than that one.
You know something else that's cool, Ryan?
What?
This is the injector that we got, and this is the connector that comes on our new controller.
It actually connects to it.
Yeah.
So I don't have to use these little spades like I rigged up to do that.
Exactly. Yep. It was made for it. This is divine providence right here.
And also inside this controller here, if I pop the lid off, there's a port to plug the computer in, so we can laptop tune it, baby. We can do a laptop
Your
street
favorite.
tuning here soon, yeah.
Do we have to use like Windows 4 to make this work?
Windows 4? That's not even a thing, Tony. You were alive when Windows came out. You should know that.
There were 4 windows in my house, yeah.
So, but before you can do anything, obviously we gotta wire this thing in, and I'm not allowed to wire, so we're gonna let Tony do that.
That's true.
I think it's kind of funny that the turbo on the Ghia is definitely smaller than the turbo that is on the Corolla. And that was not intentional. But it's kind of cool, right?
Kind of cool when like why'd they do that kind of thing.
Yeah, this thing's massive compared to the other one. That being said, I'm making this turbo manifold next.
That's a good crimp. That's what you need to not be wondering why things aren't working right later down the road.
And that's the signal wire for the map sensor too, so that's really important.
Yep.
So the map sensor that's in the Corolla, it likely does not read boost, it's only gonna read vacuum. So what we did was we bought a GM map sensor that can read up to 1 bar of boost. And we're gonna piggyback this sensor into the system with one of the boost/vacuum lines to get a good reading. What Tony's doing right now is he's setting up the plug for that, because we also need to make sure and confirm that we're getting a good signal before we even put it in, because this is kind of theory.
The map sensor in the car is only going to give signal to the ECU, and the map sensor that we add is going to give signal to our additional injector controller, which will be completely separate systems electronically, but they'll work together to feed fuel to the engine. Now hopefully this will plug into our sensor.
Did you not test the plug first?
I did test the plug first. I had to cut some slots in here so that it would go in, because this had slots that did not line with the little nubs inside there, but we should be good now. There we go. Click, that's what you want to hear. All right, now we got to hook power and ground, and then we'll test our signal at a specific pressure. So we wanted to test our map sensor, see what kind of voltage we were getting at what pressures in vacuum. Commonly throughout a car, you will see 12 volts, but for electronics ECU control, they typically use a 5-volt reference on a lot of sensors, and so we need to get 5 volts. Now this is very old, and so it's not as typical. We did find one 5-volt reference on the original map sensor, ironically, but if we hook up to that, the car won't start, and if it's running and we hook up to it, the car shuts off. We could try and knock it down to 5 volts using a resistor, but as system voltage changes, so is that voltage going to change, and we need a steady 5-volt regulated, and we don't really have anything that does that.
I just had an idea. Just hold this, Tony. You know what is 5 volts? Cigarette adapter to charge your phone in your car. It takes 12 volts, steps down to 5 volts, and it's constant so it doesn't ruin your phone. I think we can tear one of these apart and make it work.
That's a great idea, because we don't need a lot of current. That'll put out plenty. But you're not allowed to put it together. We know this with wiring and Ryan.
Give me the camera back. And this works too, Tony, because if it's our budget build, these are like $5. So, and we already had it on hand.
Yeah, they're free out of the glove box.
Free 99. Yeah, out of your glove box. I stole it out of your car. Your wife's watching this right now. I was like, hey, it's mine. Let's cap off. It's like MacGyver. This here should be the positive. The sides here should be the ground or negative. And then the other end here, we need to find out where the power goes. It's one of these pins here is the power, the 5-volt power. So we'll find that 5-volt power, tap into it, and we'll be good to go. Then maybe I'll just like 3D print a little box or something to put this in so it's not so ugly.
Or electrical tape.
That's probably what we'll do. So I put these together, the light should kick on. It does. This light's on. So now I'm gonna check with my multimeter here. Put it in voltage. There it is.
Okay.
5.148 okay for you?
Yeah, that should be pretty good.
Getting flashbacks to electronics class in high school. That was a long time ago.
The only reason we're letting you do this is because you took electronics class.
Yeah, I made the most devious electronics.
It's hard to believe.
The electricians of YouTube are concerned of what I'm doing right now. Trying to flow the solder in. No cold solder joints.
There's only 3.
I got hooked up to power. It's lighting up. Tony, will you do the honors here and check it? Oh, baby. We got 5 volts. Let's wrap this thing in a cocoon of electrical tape and throw it on the car. What a beautiful specimen.
Thank you.
Not you. Tony's pulling out the extra wiring we won't need anymore because our barbaric boost switch here no longer is going to be a thing. And we can put our map sensor right there now.
Yep.
There we go. We got a nice connection for it. But there's a lot of wiring here and relays that we won't need anymore, so we're gonna get them out of the way, tidy up this engine bay so it's less work to tidy up at the end.
Be nice to get rid of some of this.
Nice, it'd be amazing.
All right. The last remnants of the old republic have been swept away.
Yeah, that looks a lot better.
Let's put another pile of wires in there.
This looks very sketchy.
Good thing we got this nice weather pack connector.
Yeah, I know. Tony went through all the work to make sure this is all waterproof for the map sensor, and then I have this. All right, we got our map sensor all wired up now. 2.3 volts at 0. Pump it up, pump it up, pump it up. Yeah, it's changing. Yeah, there you go. It's changing with the pressure. Got 5 volts at 1 bar, 2.5 volts at 0, and then it'll be 0 at vacuum. Keep going, keep going. All right, it works. What you using there, Tony?
Nothing. I do not use Scotch locks.
I don't know, I see you using one right now. It fits the project.
There we go.
Plug that spade in right there, and that's our tax signal.
Whether or not we have the exact right wire from our control unit hooked up is a little bit of a question because we're working with instructions that aren't specifically for this old model.
Yeah, actually this isn't even a custom made model apparently, when we called the guy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep, it's older and custom made.
Yep.
Just like me.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we have the map sensor wired in. We broke the plug, so right now it's just an electrical tape covering these pins. So we're getting a new plug coming, but in the meantime, I want to tune this thing. We got all the wiring set up. We got our 12-volt adapter here, which again, I'll probably order an official one. This is just to get it through for now. We have the injector hooked up. The wiring goes through the firewall to the box inside the cabin right now, which I'm hooked up to right now with the serial port, and we're hooked up to the computer. So now, I'm gonna work on figuring out how to tune this thing. And you know it's serious because I have both laptops out. Dual tuning, baby. That means that we can go twice as bad, probably, but let's see what we can do.
Whenever you're modifying a car, it's easy to get excited and be all about the modifications, but you have to have all of your basics right. Like battery terminals tight. When I got to this was loose. That's gonna cause you all kinds of problems. Sometimes things will work fine, other times they won't. Sometimes they won't tighten up. This one, I thought that was gonna be the case. It looked like it was tight, but it did tighten up really nicely. If it doesn't, sometimes you can just kind of take this out, loosen it up, and pinch it to get it to grab better. Another little thing that a lot of people don't know about is these little sleeves that'll fit over top of a battery terminal, because sometimes no matter how much you tighten this, it won't get tight. You put this sleeve on and then it will.
Speaking of things being a good baseline and ready to be tunable, I made a mistake. I took this car out for a long test drive home. I mean, I live like almost an hour from the shop, so that's a long test drive for a car that's not tuned, and we needed to break things in. The wastegate fell off. And as you can see, if you remember from earlier, the wastegate, there's two bolts here. I changed out the bolts now. They have Loctite on them and I have different lock washers, so we're good now. But the bottom of the wastegate, there's a tube that goes down to the ground. So basically, we have like a big lollipop-shaped piece of metal that was pinging up and down inside the engine bay, which coincidentally pinged off the backside of the radiator. So now we have a radiator leak. So I drove to a auto parts store and bought one. So now we're gonna put a radiator in as well. Well, and by we, I mean Tony might put it in as penance for the map sensor he just ruined.
Yeah, I'll fix your mistake since you fixed mine.
It's funny because we have multiple map sensors here. One was a test one was one we bought. The wiring wizard wired it backwards in his distraction of many phone calls and stuff going on in the shop, so it fried the map sensor. So I fixed that, and I did most of the wiring in the front. So if we have any wiring issues, it's still Tony's fault. But he started this whole chain of events, and I'm not allowed to wire.
Yeah, I'm the one that put you in charge of wiring this time, so it's my fault no matter what.
Exactly. That being said, wiring should be good. We did test, we had signals and stuff, so now that I have the laptop hooked up, I'm gonna fiddle with making sure I can actually adjust the signals and build a map tune. And in the meantime, Tony's going to replace the radiator, which honestly, the car could benefit from anyway. It's the original radiator in the car, and it looks pretty nasty.
I know that all this wiring that we pulled out looked terrible, and that was one of the reasons we did it. But this illustrates exactly why we didn't spend a lot of time tidying it up. If I'd have made a really nice harness, it would have just been in there.
This is the box for future use. That's why it's in the Corolla box.
Yep, we'll use that for something maybe.
Probably pillars for the relays.
Yeah.
To add to my radiator story, I did see comments, people concerned about how you can't get coolant into the radiator because the turbo blocks the radiator. And you're almost right. However, I made it work. And what I did was, I had this cardboard box in the car, and to get the car back to the shop, I didn't want it overheating. I ran out of coolant at one point, so I needed to put coolant in it. What I did was, first off, you look here, Tony. See, the cap does come off, and yeah, you can't pour directly in there. So what I did was take this cardboard, went like that, and then I just use it as a funnel. It's more of a ramp, I guess,
yeah,
it's a funnel. But it worked, and I got to the shop without overheating. So that's a win, baby. I'm in. All right, so I found a base tune on their website for a 1-bar map sensor with 6 pounds of boost, which is roughly what we're going for. So I just uploaded it into the ECU. I wiped everything out that's below boost because we don't want it firing when it's out of boost. We're just gonna see what happens.
Have to be real careful not to damage this. Oh wait, never mind.
Don't mind the pinging on the back of it. Honestly, for what it's gone through, it's not that bad for,
Almost got away with it.
Yeah, I know. I remember pulling over the side of the road and seeing the wastegate like sitting on the ground and being like, wow, I got away with like no damage, and I looked over and like, oh, never mind.
It was probably like bouncing like a pogo stick off
Seriously, it was like a lollipop, and they're just like pinging off the ground. A big metal lollipop.
Lollipops don't bounce, but pogo sticks do.
Beyblade, it's like a Beyblade. A lollipop Beyblade pogo stick.
So wow, this is a lot lighter and skinnier than the other one.
Yeah, it's weight savings. Aluminium
Oh boy.
instead of brass. I also just replaced the boost gauge here. You'll notice we have a nice autometer now because originally we had this cheapo one. There's two reasons for not using it now. One, it's smoked, so unless it has power, you can't read it, which is annoying. And number two, it was sitting at negative 0.2 bar for like ambient, where it should be 0. Whereas this one is actually sitting at 0, so we get an accurate reading. And also, I kind of like my boost gauges to be in PSI and not bar. It's actually one of the few things I prefer to be standard, which is weird to say, but it is what it is. Tony, don't miss the funnel because right beside you is the exhaust manifold.
Just pour it right down there.
We'll just skip a step. It looks so much better now.
A lot less wires.
Don't worry guys, we're putting a filter on this time. I know last video we just ran without filter because I thought this looked cooler, and I wasn't really that worried about junk from the road getting in here. I'll put a filter on, mainly because it's raining outside. And right now it just slowed down just in time for us to do a little bit of street tuning. This will help us not flood the engine with water, hopefully. Although honestly, it's a little spritz of water should be fine, I think.
A little spritz.
A little spritz. The thing I am worried about though is there's a little bit of oil blow by, a little bit. It's got a little bit better since we've been driving. And you guys mentioned about an oil restrictor. This plate here is supposedly a restrictor that came in the turbo kit. We might need to restrict it further, and in that case, we might just put an little inline fitting for that. But it's not blowing as much oil as it did. Tony also replaced the valve cover gasket and spark plug tubes. You can actually see the valve cover through the hole here, so I'm actually pointing at something. And since then, too, there's been significantly less oil coming out of the engine bay and exhaust. So I'm gonna clean the windshield really thoroughly right now and just hope that we don't spray anything else on it.
Won't that just help shed the water since it's raining?
So at this point, we're all ready to go. Let's take it out on a test drive and see if this base map tune does anything to help us. Get this thing to run a little smoother. It was firing the injector when it was idling because it's just on the edge of our tune, so I adjusted that. The other thing I forgot about.
We have to take out the ignition timing that Ryan kept adding and adding and adding.
it didn't blow
until
up
it wouldn't turn anymore.
We're about to go on our first test drive. This is our Innovate wideband. So right now it's showing we have 14.7, about 14.6, 14.7, which is stoichiometric.
Which is pretty good at idle.
Yep,
That's what you want.
What do we expect right now because it's not even inside the tune. So Tony's gonna watch that, and as we get into boost, he's gonna see what that number says. If that number gets too rich or too lean, we're gonna adjust the tune. So I think it's gonna be too rich. The base map I put in, I reduced by 70% for fueling, and it still seems a little rich when you rev it, but now it doesn't stall out.
We'll see what happens under boost too.
That's about 4 pounds of boost right there. We had to lean it out a little bit, a little too rich in some points, so I just dropped it all down 10%. And then I also added a 2.5 volts, which is just the beginning of boost basically. I added some fuel there as well, because it seemed like it was dipping down and getting a little lean initially, then getting rich, so.
Shouldn't we do this while we're in the middle of a drag race?
Yes. So you're on the side where the floor mats might blow up on you. We don't have diamond plate, but
I better hold
we
my
got that
feet up.
Toyota
I'm gonna put my
quality.
feet up.
Danger to intake manifold. All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Ready tuner Tony? He's got the wideband, the laptop, and we got the boost gauge here.
Now balance all these, holding on to them. Don't go too fast.
You can't see. Let's get back to the shop.
Yep.
Something popped off, and now it's something very hard to see.
Yeah. Oil pressure light didn't come on yet.
Yeah. I don't know what popped, but it's very smeary on the windshield suddenly.
Yeah. I wonder if this is why they don't put exhaust coming out of the hood.
People do that.
Yeah, we do that.
We're almost back.
Might blow out.
Blow it out, Tony. I think we had an oil issue.
Yeah, we definitely did.
Yeah, that's all oil.
Don't know where it's coming from, but
I think it's this oil line.
Get us something.
And what if the oil line popped? There's so much oil all over the hood. All right, we fixed the problem. The oil line was originally coming from this side, which is really hot because it came around back here. And we cooked the oil line itself, and it was a spraying oil and everything, which caused flames and lots of problems.
Yeah, brackets and proper routing are very important, kids.
But, so what we did do is we routed it on the other side now, where the header is not so much, so it'd be much cooler. We had to do a temporary clamping here because we just don't have the fittings we need to keep driving this thing today. This should be fine for now.
As I say that brackets and proper routing are very important, I look and see that our oil line is right against the hard edge of the hood.
All right, we got it tuned to run pretty well as it is right now. So now's the time where we advance the timing a little bit and adjust the map, but also we're only getting like 3.5 pounds of boost because of the wastegate spring and how it's set up right now. We can't get more, so enter boost controller. This is a really cheap Amazon boost controller. We're gonna see if this will actually work.
All we gotta do is plumb it in line.
Between the boost line and the boost side of the wastegate there. Easy peasy. And that's how you blow your car up really fast. So this is the wastegate here. There's a spring on this side and a bladder there. So what happens is this boost line, when it reaches a certain amount of boost, it'll open up based off the spring in the back and bleed out exhaust so that it doesn't keep spooling the turbo so you don't overboost. The problem is, this like kit that we got didn't like say how strong the spring was. And we ended up trimming it to modify it just to like make it a little lighter. And I think when we did that, it caused problems. Cause we're still only boosting.
It doesn't look good.
Yeah, I did what I thought it would do when I tried to screw it in. What's happening is it's only boosting with the boost controller. It's still only boosting to just below 5 pounds of boost. It's like 4.5. So we've ordered more springs. One of them came a while. I'm gonna see if it's compatible. It might fit Tony. So we're gonna pop that in here and see if we can get some more boost. Because right now, tuning wise, we're pretty happy. It kind of breaks up at like above 5,000 RPM. I want to see us get more boost first, and then we'll fiddle past that. All right, we just put a 7-pound wastegate spring in now, so it should do 7 pounds of boost and or more because it's screwed in a little tighter. I don't know. We're gonna see what happens here. So we got it running really well now. We got boost to like 5.5 pounds or so. So now I'm going to lean it out just a little bit on the top end because it's kind of still breaking up a little bit. But we're like on the cusp now, to the point that we're gonna keep tuning, and then when we come back with the camera again and talk to you, it's gonna be tuned. Or blown up. Tony, why is the exhaust no longer centered? What'd you do?
Why does it jump like that?
What are you doing? We should pull over somewhere, you nerd. I think we broke the car. Yeah, go backwards. There you go. You only sat on the oil pan, that's fine. That's a problem.
Yeah, because it's not supported by a bracket. I may have mentioned this once or twice, Ryan. Every time I mention it, you're like, nah, we don't have time for that.
I don't have time for that, you do.
Literally, this is exactly what happened to my Talon when somebody that I had working on my car didn't put the support bracket back on, which may be why I was so intent on making one for this.
That's also why we have a support bracket on the turbo on the Ghia, because this is a car that we care much more about, and we don't want all that weight on the manifold.
Funny thing is, the more we drive this, the more you care about it,
I
Ryan.
freaking love this car, dude. I mean, look at that little guy. I welded it back together and I added a little strap to the front as a little bit of a brace. Temporary fix for the moment until I pull it all back out and make a really solid fix. We're not done filming it yet today, so I'm gonna drive like this. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm having so much fun with this car. It reminds me when I was like 19, 20 and had a 240SX that was turboed, and I had to constantly fix problems on it, but I had so much fun doing it because it was just a throwaway car basically, and that's what we have here, and I love it. I want to build more cars like this. Cheap beaters that I can beat the hell out of, and if they blow up, I don't care. We're feeling a little greedy, and the 3.5 PSI spring for the wastegate just showed up, and the diameter of the spring is larger than the other springs, so you can put them together to be about 10 pounds of boost, because currently we're hitting about 6. I'm gonna add this into the wastegate, and hopefully not do that thing where you get too greedy and blow the car up immediately, but it runs so good right now, and I just want a little bit more boost, just a little bit more, it'll be fine, it'll be fine.
We might need to do some ignition tuning as well.
Let's do it. It's a fun road.
I can't believe I've never been on this road.
A little bumpy, but so smooth and quiet with the windows up.
I know a lot of you have been wondering what's going on with Project Jigsaw. If you've done any kind of project, you know that sometimes you gotta get your parts, sometimes you gotta make some money to buy those parts, sometimes you gotta clear off your table so you have time to work on your car. We've kind of been doing all of those things. So unlike our Corolla project, this is going to have all the right parts all together at the right time and put it together in one video.
Ooh!
We got our 5-liter block back from the machinist. It's now not a 5-liter anymore. And a bunch of high-dollar parts that we need to put together an engine that fits in a supercar. So Jigsaw will be returning very soon.
Oh yeah. So back to the Corolla. Tuning-wise, when it comes to the air-fuel ratio, we are very confident that it's safe now, to the point that I'm gonna drive it home this weekend, and I don't think we're gonna have any issues with the little band-aids we did, and if I have an issue, I'll be fine. However, you may have heard in the previous clips when we were driving that we believe we're having an ignition issue. So either the ignition system's not keeping up under boost, because after about like 5 pounds of boost, it begins to break up. Or the other thing is there might be a spark cut of the ECU. We're not sure on that. I haven't even looked into this like schematics to figure if that's gonna be a problem or not. Don't know. But what I do know is I can swap out the wastegate springs, run about 3-4 pounds of boost, and not have an issue with it breaking up, and it runs smoothly. And truthfully, with an engine with this many miles on it, 285,000 miles, I probably should run any more boost than that anyway.
I really like this additional injector for somebody that's learning tuning right up front. Sometimes it's a little easier if you can just dip your toes in rather than jumping all the way into the deep end like you would with a standalone system. Doing it this way, we only have to tune where the boost kicks in. And so you get to, which can be a dangerous area, you get to figure out how the tuning works without having to deal with all of the different air fuel ratios that you need. You need different AFRs for idle, for decel, for startup. And instead of trying to figure out all those things as well as an ignition timing map, you're just figuring out one area and you can learn that, feel comfortable with it, and then you can start to expand your knowledge and what you're doing. This has been a fun diversion from our normal type of projects. Thank you for helping us to get to 100,000 subscribers, and thanks for hanging in the shop with us.